Hey, everybody. It is Thursday at 4:30, which means it is MFSN, the Hub's strategy NFL fantasy football show. And so I am going to host today. Dr. Dan is not feeling great, so I'll host. I'm Kasey Shienvold, and I'm with, as always, my Tuesday partner and my partner in almost all fantasy things, Ross. How inappropriate is that? Ross the boss.
Thanks, Kasey. Vlad to the bow and Shienvold. I love the intro. Week 15, Kasey. Playoffs. Yeah, I said playoffs are starting this week. And we have a count and how many times you're going to say congratulations if you made the playoffs.
What did I do?
Over under right now is 3, Kasey Shienvold.
Okay, I think I did 3 on Tuesday. So
I think you're right. So I'm
going to hold off on
again. But this is a huge week, Kasey. I mean, think of week 15. And we're going to week 18. I don't think a lot of teams don't have like stuff going on in week 18. I mean, if your playoffs are in week 18 or your championship, whoever is your man in charge of your league should be fired. I mean, that's horrible to have.
Yeah, week 18 is tough. I mean, everybody has, like, all the teams that have already made the playoffs in the real NFL rest their starters or change their game plan. So it can really change the strength of your team. Because if you played fantasy football well, you have a lot of guys on those teams that are in the playoffs. So
I agree. So we're here to help you. Who to start, who to bench, who you should maybe pick up on waiver wire if you have questions. If you're in trouble at the quarterback position or even running back or you see whatever position, we can help you to pick up. We talked about it on Tuesday, I know, Case, but doesn't matter. And I doubt your league is still trading. If your league is still trading during playoff time, that's another huge red flag.
Yeah, there's some issues there. But yeah, and week 15 is an exciting week because all the bye weeks are finished. We never have to talk about bye weeks for the rest of the season. Obviously, injuries are a concern, but bye weeks are not. And B, we finally start having some Saturday football. You know, the college football season isn't dominating Saturday anymore because we're into bowl season there. So the NFL says, hey, you know what? Come watch us on Saturday. We have some good games this Saturday. But let's start by talking about tonight's game, the Seattle Seahawks against the San Francisco 49ers. Surprisingly, 2 playoff teams.
2 playoff teams. Seattle has some work to do. Seattle is the underdog at home by 3.5 points. I'd like San Francisco in this game, but I think Seattle with Geno Smith, who's having an unbelievable year. I mean, no one predicted, including myself and you, I would think Geno Smith would be a quarterback.
He's like a top 8 fantasy quarterback this year.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. So I think if I had to predict that game, I would say for the Seahawks to win, Metcalf is going to have to go off, and Lockett's going to have a good game. And I don't have any hope in Seattle's running game against that hard defense the 49ers have, Kasey. What do you think?
I love Kenneth Walker III. I think he's going to be a stud for years to come as long as he stays healthy. But this run defense of San Francisco is pretty stout and pretty tough to beat. So, yeah, I have a feeling it's going to have to go through the air too.
Yeah.
I think it could be a low-scoring game, 21-17, something in that range, less than 40 points total. But I do think San Francisco has the edge just because of that defense. That defense makes all the difference. And it's a short week, which means teams are going to be maybe a little less creative offensively, which it plays to the strength of San Francisco also.
Kasey, the defense for Seattle, their running defense has been giving up a lot of yards the past 3 weeks, like over 600 yards the past three weeks.
Now Brock Purdy is back. Is that correct? They're saying he's going to play tonight?
Brock's playing. This is his moment. He'll play no matter what. He's not going to say, I can't play tonight. So Brock Purdy is playing. I don't even know who their backup is in San Francisco.
I read it a couple days ago, but it didn't register with me. That's how
I don't even know who it is.
Unknown of a person it is.
But Purdy's starting, which is fine. He's like an average guy. He could throw the swing pass. He can throw medium shots. Exactly what Shanahan wants to do. I see them playing into his hands, but I think the big story on the game tonight, and you'll see them tomorrow in the paper, not the paper, excuse me, the internet. No one reads the paper anymore. I think McCaffrey's going to have a huge game tonight. 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards from scrimmage easily. They'll use McCaffrey. I like that kid. You like that Mason kid? I like too.
Yeah,
I think he'll do okay too.
I actually think Brandon Ayuk is going to be the star tonight. If you want my honest opinion, he went to a great school. Where did he go again?
He went to the school in Tempe, Arizona called Arizona State, where all the great athletes go. James Harden, all the great, unbelievable athletes go. Barry Bonds, all the great guys, Reggie Jackson, you name it, they went there. Ross the Boss went there. All these
Ross
great guys.
Mark, yeah.
All the Ross. It's unbelievable. But I think tonight's game, like you said, it could be low scoring. I don't know what the weather is in Seattle. I don't know if it's raining or if it's clear. I have no idea. I don't think it matters that much. But I think San Francisco's defense alone will win them the game. I feel they're going to have some turnovers. I feel they'll keep the score low. But again, if Seattle has any chance, DK Metcalf at least has to have one touchdown.
And he certainly has the skill set to do it. It's whether they can script him the ball. That's all. So it becomes it's one of the more enjoyable Thursday night games that I can imagine, because so far this year, Thursday night has been not very enjoyable.
And in fantasy wise, I would for sure start McCaffrey. I would, if you need to start Ayuk, that's a good question mark. I wouldn't start Purdy. He would not be a starter in my fantasy.
No, I think Kittle should start though.
Who?
Kittle.
He's been horrible the past few weeks. I mean, he's not been good. He's not.
But if you have George Kittle, do you really have a backup that's better than him?
I listen. I guess you play him. You spin the wheel. But again, I'm not sold on George Kittle tonight. I feel that he's just let everybody down this year. I feel Kyle Pitts has let everybody down this year in the tight end position. Mark Andrews has been horrible in the tight end position the past few weeks.
The second half of the season, he was terrible. The first half of the season, he was Kelsey-esque.
Kelsey had 2 weeks, bad weeks in a row. I think this third week he'll pick it up and he'll have a good week this week. So if you have him, of course, you start Kelsey. But the tight end position has been really like depressing. I told you that. It's like it's like spinning a wheel. You have no idea who to start. But again, and on the Seattle side, if you have Geno Smith, I have a question for you. Let's say I have Geno Smith and I have like Mike White, maybe a few other guys, maybe White or Daniel Jones, let's say, okay?
Okay. So you're picking on the New Jersey quarterbacks.
Do you start Geno Smith in the playoffs if you have him? In
the playoffs today, if my backup...
this week is playoffs. So,
right. No, I know. It depends who my backup is. Like if you're saying my backup is Daniel Jones or Mike White, who am I starting? Out of those three, I'm probably going to start Mike White.
Mike White with the Jets.
Just because I like their matchup against the Lions better. Daniel Jones is going against the Commanders. They tied him 20-20 last time. It's not very exciting. They don't have any pass catchers. So if I had to rank them in 3, 1 would be Mike White, 1A would probably be Geno Smith, and then a distant third would be Daniel Jones, just because I don't have a lot of faith in Daniel Jones without any receivers. Geno Smith, all it takes is 200 yards and a couple touchdowns, and suddenly he's a top 10 quarterback, and he could do that and they still lose the game. So it's still within the game script for him to hit DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. I mean, is Will Dissly, is that the tight end?
The tight end, yep.
So like he's got some targets to throw to who can beat really good coverage. So I'm leaning Mike White, but I wouldn't argue Geno Smith.
If you have any questions, just type it up. We'll answer them right now. Me and Kasey are very good at our job. We'd love to help you out to win your playoff game this week. There's again, it's a huge week for everybody, unless you have a bye week. If you have a bye week, then that's great. You should look at next week's schedule and maybe pick up a defense that you want to start for next week instead of waiting till the waiver wire happens next week.
That's true. That's actually a really good idea.
You got to think ahead when you have a bye week.
Or look at your potential opponents and pick up guys you think they might pick up.
Yeah.
So that they're not there for them next week, because they can't pick them up early because they have to win this week. So sometimes subtracting the chances for your opponent to get better players is as powerful as getting yourself better players.
Okay. Quick question. This is a question that I need help with. So I'm going to ask you for your opinion. AJ Dillon or Chuba Hubbard, they're playing the Rams.
Chuba Hubbard
or Chuba Hubbard, who do you start? This is a real question. I'm playing in our MFSN league and I'm playing Dr. Dan Ratner's team. And right now I have Hubbard on the bench. I'm starting AJ Dillon, but I'm thinking about
I would probably start Hubbard just because Carolina has done a better job of keeping two running backs fantasy relevant than Green Bay has. Green Bay is going up against your Lambs, and they're coming off a bye week, aren't they?
Coming off a bye week, A.J. Dillon before the bye week had a huge game. Had like, I
Yeah,
can't remember, had a touchdown and over like 100-yard scrimmage.
that's
Yeah,
interesting. I'm leaning Chuba Hubbard because I think he's got a higher floor than AJ Dillon. He might have a higher ceiling too because of the fact that Carolina's entire offense runs through their backfield, whereas Aaron Rodgers still likes to throw to Lazard, still likes to throw to Tunyon, still likes to throw to Christian Watson.
I do have
Uh,
Christian Watson too, Kasey Shienvold, so I'm starting him for sure. I
yeah,
mean, Christian
I would
Watson has been
see
under
that.
the radar. I mean, no
Yeah,
one's talking about him. He's
I agree
money
with that,
every
but
week. I mean, the past few weeks he's been unbelievable.
so that's a different question than you're asking me. You're actually asking me, do I stack Green Bay against LA or play Chuba Hubbard against Pittsburgh?
Yeah, and I'm also starting Green Bay's defense. Also, how do you like
Yeah.
that, Kasey Shienvold?
Well, I think look, Baker Mayfield's second start with the Rams in Green Bay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would probably start them too.
yeah.
I think New Orleans is the top defense play this week because they're going against
It's funny
Desmond
you
Ritter.
said that. I picked them up in all my leagues I have playoffs in. I picked Saints defense was available in almost every league. I picked it up. I love
I just think they're going to tee off on the run and
Oh,
make
wait.
Desmond Ritter try to throw it, and that makes a lot of sense. But God, I'm leaning Hubbard, but I don't know. I mean, he did
I'll
well
probably
last
figure it
week
out by
against Seattle.
Saturday. I'll listen and I'll read all their articles and I'll see.
Well, you have to
There's a
decide
lot of places you can. There's a lot of fantasy football websites you can go to for free.
Oh, I know that
And
rank
do
players and
research, and
project.
I always bookmark them. I always go back to them. I look at them again. I mean, there's a lot of if you really want to win your league and you really want to do research on certain games and teams, some of it's luck, but you can do so much stuff on the internet, guys. Come on, don't be lazy. Do the work like I do, like Kasey does. It makes the games a lot better too.
Yeah. So what other tough plays do you think there are out there?
Well,
who do you think has the best matchups this weekend?
Well, I'll give you the most exciting games. I'm excited for Miami is playing in Buffalo in the 7-inch snow they're predicting. Tua was interviewed.
That's
today.
the Saturday night game. That's the 8:15.
Yeah, Tua. It's gonna be cold. Tua was interviewed, and he asked him about playing in snow. He said, "Listen, I played in Alabama. We had snow there, maybe one time, but they had snow."
And the definition of snow in Alabama is a little different than lake effect snow in Buffalo.
But I think Tua should be fine. He's a professional. He's played in the snow before. I think he'll be fine playing in Buffalo. They have Hill and Waddle that I think are probably one of the best two tandems in football right now. And the DBs, I mean, remember, you got to guard these guys. And if you're a defensive back and you're making these cuts like these receivers are doing, it's very hard. I mean, it's not an easy task. I don't care who on Buffalo they have, and they're hurt. I mean, they have a couple DBs that are not playing who are starters, and a couple more of their defensive players are on the IR, and they're hurting. I mean, the Buffalo defense isn't what they started with beginning of the year. So Miami should make it a game. I mean, it should be an exciting game. I'm excited to watch that game just because of the weather factor, and also, Josh Allen's is worth the price of admission. Also, I mean, he's an MVP candidate, obviously. So it should be fun, Case. I'm excited for that game. I mean, there's a lot of games on Saturday, but if I was betting on the Buffalo game, I would take the Bills. I think they're going to run the score up, but I think Miami is going to score some points. I don't think they'll go down, not swinging.
So I read an interesting stat today. There are 5 teams with at least 10 wins in the NFL. Can you name them all?
Probably not, but I'll try. Well, there's the Eagles, of course, right? That's one. I know the Bengals and Baltimore don't have 10. They both have 9.
Right.
I'm just going through each division now.
There's another NFC East team you missed.
Okay. There's the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's 2. We got the 10 wins, huh? I'm just going through the NFL. I'm trying to think.
NFC North has 1.
Kansas City has 1, right?
Kansas City is, yeah.
And then in the North, it's AFC North, you said?
No, NFC North, AFC East.
Oh, AFC East. Okay, so NFC North has 1 too.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not either of those teams. NFC North, Minnesota, and who's the
AFC
last one?
East.
NFC East.
AFC East. I'm sorry.
It's not Miami.
Nope. Who are they playing?
Buffalo. They have 10, huh? Yeah.
Okay. So of those 10 win teams, 4 of the 5 have a point differential of plus 86 at least.
Okay.
The 5th team has a minus point differential with 10 wins.
Buffalo, right?
No. Minnesota has a negative point differential this year. They have given up more points than they've scored. And yet they have 10 wins.
Minnesota they'll be a one and done in the playoffs. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs this year. You mark my word. They'll be in the first round of the playoffs. They won't get a bye. Then they'll lose in the first round at home, whoever they play.
Well, who's going to get the bye over them?
One of these
2 teams get a bye, right?
So the Eagles get a bye.
The Eagles will get a bye, and then San Francisco would have to win more games than would have to surpass them over the final 3 weeks of the season.
Maybe they'll get a bye. Again, let them get the bye.
How terrible is it that a team can win 10 games and have given up more points than they've scored?
It happens. It's just like in fantasy football when you like have the most points in your league and you don't make the playoffs, and that's happened to me. So it can happen in football, especially. And it's heartbreaking. I hear a lot of bad stories about fantasy teams that have a lot of points and a lot of points more than any other team, and they end up not making the playoffs. And it's just bad luck. I mean, they're playing teams that have huge weeks, and I get it. It's happened to all of us. I mean, in any fantasy sport, in basketball, baseball, hockey.
What it means is they never win by a lot. And when they win and when they lose, they might get trounced.
Oh, it's bad. Let's go through the Saturday schedule real quick. Again, if you guys have any questions on who you should start, who you should bench, I'm here. Kasey's here. We can help you with that stuff. And if you're still trading, we'll answer trade questions too. But I want to hear about your league.
George Cook has our first question of the night. Hey, George, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Do I bench Jason Myers, the Seattle kicker, tonight?
Do you bench him? So, well, obviously you got a starter kicker, right? Case. So you're asking, should you waive him or should you start? I actually would probably start him this week. It's Thursday night.
They're not going to get in the end zone much.
Yeah, it's Thursday night, and a lot of weird stuff happens Thursday, and the games are usually low scoring with field goals. So I don't think it's a bad person to start, but I'm curious to what other kickers are available in your league. But
I mean, under 60% owned, you got Cameron Dicker for the Chargers.
Dicker, the kicker, yep.
You got Michael Badgley, who's another Detroit's kicker who's been doing well lately.
Yep.
You could throw out Graham Gano of the Giants because they're going to not score a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, you're not a Giant fan anymore. Okay, keep going.
Will Lutz in New Orleans. These are all. I mean, Jason Myers is not.
I like Lutz. I always liked him. I always had him on my team in the past. I think I have him in a couple leagues still. I think New Orleans is going to have a big game this week against Atlanta. So if you can pick up Lutz and drop Myers. I agree with that one.
So he said he's forced to play Ken Walker because I guess that's just his better running back, and he doesn't want to be stacking multiple pieces of Seattle tonight. That makes a lot of sense, George. But if I had to bench one of the two, I might lean towards benching Ken Walker only because I think they could get down to the 35 or 40-yard line a couple times, and he can make a couple long field goals. I don't know how the scoring goes with your league, but some leagues, if you have a 40-plus or 50-plus yard field goal, you get 5 or 6 points as opposed to just the standard 3. He said, I was going to roll with Indy's kicker against the Vikings or Sly on Washington. Both are also solid plays. I like, of those two, probably Indy's kicker, because is that a dome game or no? It's in Minnesota, so I guess it's not because they don't play in a dome anymore.
No, they destroyed the Metrodome. They demolished it. They took dynamite and they blew
Yeah, I
it up.
know. Sly on Washington. The Giants defense just got trounced last week by the Eagles. So they're certainly not exactly firing on all cylinders. I tend to stream kickers and not overthink them.
Me too.
So it's not fair. We're into the playoffs, so you have to be more careful. I would look at multiple sites of those three and that have projections of those three and kind of go with who is consistently being given the best matchup and probably go with that one.
I'm going to stick with Myers. I think he'll have 3 field goals tonight. How about that prediction?
There you go. Ross is a little more certain than I am. Albert Merriquin, welcome back. Good afternoon to you as well. All right, pick 3, half point per reception league. Christian Kirk, Christian Watson, a lot of Chris's, Chris Olave, or Juju Smith-Schuster.
Pick 3.
So Christian Kirk and the Jaguars are going against the Cowboys. Christian Watson is obviously tonight. Not tonight, is against the Rams on Saturday. And then who is the third? The Chiefs are playing the Texans
in Houston.
Houston.
I would, who's not been doing well out of all these receivers that you just showed me?
Oh, and Chris Olave, the Saints, going against the Falcons. Sorry.
Yeah. So I would not start Christian Kirk. He would be on my bench, and the other guys I would start. I love Christian Watson. His numbers, if you look at his past 4 games, have been amazing. Chris Olave is the big target in New Orleans. I love that rookie from Ohio State. And Juju, I think I'll predict it. I think he'll have a touchdown in Houston. Juju, I think he's going to have a pretty good game with Mahomes as his quarterback. But Christian Kirk, for some reason, he loves Jones.
Zay Jones.
They love Zay Jones in Jacksonville now, and also the tight end who was, like I told you, the leading point getter in fantasy last week, Ingram. So Christian Kirk hasn't done anything the past 3 weeks. Case, you can look it up.
He's averaging 5 receptions and 65 yards per game, 9.83 fantasy points over the last 4 weeks. No touchdowns in the last 4 weeks.
That's what I'm saying. No touchdowns.
And let's see what Juju's done the last. Juju Smith-Schuster, the last 4 weeks, hasn't done much either, but he does have a touchdown. I don't know if he played all 4 of those games. That's the question. But he's averaging 5 receptions and only 50 yards. So there's not much separating any of these. I think Christian Watson has good chemistry right now with Aaron Rodgers, which plays to your advantage. I think Landry's hurt, which makes Olave the big target there in New Orleans. I tend to lean Christian Kirk, but I like the Schuster matchup better than I like the Kirk matchup. I don't like that Dallas matchup for Jacksonville. I think that could be a long day for them. I'm going to go Watson, Olave, and Juju also.
I just said that. Okay.
I said going. Also.
Okay,
all right.
Good.
Keller Lott asks us, pick 2, please. It's a I guess a full point PPR. Metcalf, Wilson, Juju, Olave, and Hollywood. Pick 2.
So Garrett Wilson, he's the receiver for the Jets who's been really playing really well lately. I mean, White loves him. Juju, we just talked about. Olave, we talked about. And Hollywood with
Arizona.
With second string quarterback. I'm going to throw him out.
Yeah, I don't think I would play Hollywood either.
So I would start Metcalf tonight. I feel that the script says Metcalf's going to have at least a touchdown tonight, and I'm going to take the Jets receiver Wilson. He's been rejuvenated ever since White took that job. I mean, Wilson's been the man in New York, and they're playing at home this weekend against a really poor defense.
We're gonna agree again. I like Metcalf a lot tonight. I like Garrett Wilson. I think he and his former Ohio State Buckeye teammate Chris Olave, they're both rookies. Imagine how good that wide receiving core was in Ohio State last year. And they still have 2 other first-round picks coming out this year. I think he would be number 3 for me. I do like the idea of going against that Atlanta team, but I'm going to agree and go Metcalf and Wilson. The weather forecast for Sunday in New York is not anything like it is right now in the Northeast, as I'm in the middle of an ice storm and it's going all up and down the East Coast. That should all be gone. So
I'm so happy I live in Los Angeles. Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you guys there. I don't think Hollywood has any fantasy value anymore. I don't.
Now with Colt McCoy there,
I like Colt McCoy. I think he's kind of a fun player, but I don't like him as a fantasy quarterback. That's
great
for sure.
name. I mean, if I was naming my son, if I named my son Colt, that'd be cool. I didn't name my son Colt.
Mike Altawheel. All right. Do I start Saquon against the Washington Commanders, or I'm assuming James Conner against the Denver Broncos? Who you got?
Well, I would start Saquon. I mean, I just think it's a more safe play, especially in the playoffs. I think Barkley's the play there.
And Washington's defense isn't scary enough to scare me away.
They're one of the hottest teams. I mean, they're playing great football there. I mean, they really are in Washington.
Oh, sure, but I think.
But Barkley, as you said, I mean, Connor does get the ball a lot, and they're playing Denver. But again, they're down to Colt McCoy, so they're going to put 9 in the box, and they're going to force Arizona to pass more.
And they don't have a mobile quarterback, so that Daniel Jones at least can move around, which gives the linebackers something else to look at. So
and plus Barkley, with that game's what's on Monday night, right?
Is that game Monday night?
Or is it Sunday night? I get them confused.
Their Sunday night game. The Monday night game is your Rams-Packers game.
Okay, so
now Ross is going to tell you right now his pattern for always playing players in primetime games at the end of the week.
You could snuggle up and watch Barkley play on Sunday night, and
he likes playing your players on Sundays and Sunday nights and Monday nights.
You know what? I do enjoy that. Yes, I'm going to admit. Yes, I enjoy watching my players play on national television. I agree. Yes.
Keller Lott also asks, what are your thoughts about ETN against the Cowboys this week?
Oof.
He had a soft week last week, I remember.
I know. I think he's still hurt. I mean, ATM, I said it like weeks ago. I don't know if you remember that he's not a big guy and he's going to get hurt. And what happened the next week? He got hurt.
Dallas is tough.
Dallas is tough, but I don't know who else you have on your team. I would probably start him unless you have somebody better. If you want to let us know, Keller.
Yeah, I would start him too because he catches passes also. So if you're in a PPR league, he can get you 3 or 4 receptions, which makes up for 30 to 40 yards worth of rushing.
And Jacksonville's been playing really well lately. I mean, that team, their defense is playing better. Their offense is playing better. I think Trevor Lawrence has a lot more confidence now. And I think ETN will be good. I just don't know who else you have on your team, but I would start ETN unless you have, somebody else that up your sleeve. I'm curious to see who you have.
So this is a friend of yours, apparently, Zach Daly.
Zach Daly, he's one of the best softball players in Los Angeles, actually. And
he told you blew it. I don't know what you blew.
Blew it, Ross. How did I blew it? I didn't blow anything.
He said, I'm in a small league.
Listen,
I don't know. Then he asked the question, would you get Freiermuth or Taysom Hill?
I said this before. The second most points of any tight end this season is Taysom Hill.
But he got like 40 of them in one game.
They're playing Atlanta. So I feel that script's going to be Taysom Hill's going to run some touchdowns in. He's going to pass them for some yards. And as much as you love Zach Daly, you love the Red Rocket, you love Andy Dalton. I know you love him in New Orleans. I feel Taysom Hill will get some snaps. He'll get some runs. And he'll throw the ball. He might even have a touchdown pass this weekend. How do you like that, Kasey Shienvold?
Well,
he might have a touchdown.
All right, so he proved why you blew it.
Oh, naming his son Colt. Okay, I get it. Because I said I think it's a cool name, Colt McCoy. And it's a great. If I went to school in Texas, my name would be Colt McCoy, just so you guys know.
So Keller is telling us he was the one who asked about ETN. This is who his bench is. AJ Dillon, who you talked about whether or not you would play him this week. Or who was your other guy? AJ Dillon or Chuba Hubbard. Yeah. And then Pierre Strong of New England. Sorry, the other new team. New England is playing.
And Pierre Strong looked good in that game.
He looked great. It's just a question of the health of Stevenson.
I would stay away from any, especially in the playoffs, stay away from any New England running backs because Belichick is known to screw people over.
Even playoffs. Going against the Raiders?
I don't care if they're going against my daughter's softball team. It doesn't matter. Belichick loves to screw people during playoffs during this whole fantasy run.
So then would you start ETN or AJ Dillon this week? Dillon against the Rams. which
I would probably start
which is
ATM.
the Monday night game.
Remember, Dallas gave up over 20 points against Houston, and Houston was playing it with their third string quarterback. I mean, they weren't like this unbelievable defense. They were getting, they almost lost that game, and they were not like the 49ers. So let's not pretend they're like the Dallas has some great defense. They don't have a great defense.
So, but the issue I have with AJ Dillon is he's the Monday night game.
Yeah.
If God forbid you get there and he becomes a game time decision or questionable and he's limited in his care, he's going to be limited. You're stuck, right? You don't have,
oh, you're
it's
stuck,
not like, it's not like you could,
he's not, he's fine. He had a week
no,
off.
No, I know, but it's not like
roll.
you could pick up
He's ready
Aaron Jones on the waiver wire.
Yeah, but he's not going to be hurt. He had a week off, Kasey. He's good. He's ready to rock and roll. It's just, again, Hubbard or Dillon. That's a great question. I can't wait to talk to you next week and see who had more points.
Yeah.
I don't know who I'm starting. I don't know who I'm starting yet. So please.
I think Hubbard's the better play.
I have
there.
AJ Dillon, Pierre Strong. So Pierre Strong, you don't start. I would go after ATM just because, like you said, he's their featured back. He's going to get passes. Trevor Lawrence really wants to beat the Cowboys, and I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think Jacksonville is going to be like getting blown out at home against the Cowboys. The Cowboys aren't that great of a team. I mean, I know there's the Cowboy fans out there, but they're not.
The only time I would consider Pierre Strong is if I heard definitively that Stevenson and Harris were injured. Like, then I would consider it, because Mac Jones is not doing a good job through the air for that offense. So they're going to lean on the running game, and you can run on Las Vegas. So that would be the only reason the only point I would consider Pierre Strong.
I do love Hunter Henry this week against Vegas, because Vegas does not cover tight ends well at all. And Hunter had 7
Have they
yards
covered
last
anything
week.
well?
I don't know, but I'm just saying I have Hunter Henry in our fantasy league, and I think he's going to have a big week this week. 2 touchdowns. He's going to do something. He's going to have a big week.
So
watch out.
Right now, it is. I think it's Philly and Kansas City would have home field if the playoffs ended today. If the playoffs started this week,
okay,
because Kansas City beat Buffalo, correct?
Kansas City
this year?
Yes.
So they would have so do you think that's the way it's going to finish up, or do you think somebody else is going to catch or pass one of them?
Oh, you mean when they play
over
start?
The next 4 weeks? There's 4 games.
I think the Eagles on paper right now have the best team. I think the Eagles will represent the NFC. They'll have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and they'll do great. I'm not sold on Kansas City. I think,
Well, who's the hottest team in the AFC right now, Ross?
They play in a small town called Cincinnati, Ohio. They haven't lost since the horrible game they played on Halloween against the Browns. That's the last time they lost.
That was ugly.
They beat Kansas City. They beat. They've been beating everybody. I mean,
right. So, do you think they're going to catch and pass and end up with?
I don't know. Seed? I mean, I think Kansas City. I think like you said, I think it's going to be Kansas City and the Eagles representing us home field advantage this year, but I don't think home field advantage is that huge of an advantage anymore. I think there's teams that go to these stadiums and they win. I mean, I just don't. It's not what it used to be. Like, if you have home field, you're almost guaranteed to win. It's not like that anymore.
So they have Bucks. The Bengals play the Bucks, the Patriots, the Bills.
Yep, tough game.
And then finish up against the Ravens.
Yep. They have 4 games left, and the Raven game could be for the division.
The Bills go Dolphins.
Yeah.
And then their next week they play the Bears. Then they play the Bengals, and they finish up against, the Patriots.
Patriots can be a spoiler. The Patriots defense is good. I mean, the defense for the Patriots, they keep him in the games. And Belichick's, as much as people don't like him, he's a great coach. I mean,
he's a curmudgeon. He's
a curmudgeon, but he gets his players so prepared for these games. He gets them ready, and even when they're underdogs away, and they win. I mean, the guy's he knows what he's doing when it comes to coaching. He's a great coach. He doesn't have the players like he used to have. He doesn't have the guys that he used to have years ago. Those days are over. But I don't, I wouldn't want to be playing him in the last few games. And of course, the Bengals played Patriots, and so did the Bills. So there you go.
All right. So you think the Eagles are going to stay, and you think Kansas City is going to hold
Yeah,
on?
I mean, the Eagles. First of all, the Eagles' schedule, if you look at it, it's pretty weak. I mean,
And they have a 2-game lead with 4
they
games
play
to play.
Dallas, and the big game's Dallas. That should be a great game
They
next
play the
week.
Bears this week.
And Dallas next week, right? And then
Next week. Yeah, I'm surprised they're not flexing that to one of the primetime games.
And me too. That
Because they have the Bucks Cardinals Sunday night and the Chargers Colts Monday night. Like, why the heck you wouldn't flex either the Eagles Cowboys or something better than that to one, or
I'm
the
surprised
Chiefs Seahawks, for crying out loud, would be better.
Yeah, I
Week
don't know.
17, the Eagles play the Saints. Yeah, that's winnable for them pretty easily. And week 18, the Eagles finish up against the Giants. Oh my gosh. Like,
I told you,
yeah,
their
nobody's
schedule
catching them.
They have a big favorite schedule, and isn't it? You just said it, like week 18. Isn't it strange to say there's games in week 18 in NFL football? I mean,
although I do like one less preseason game. I got to be honest.
I hate preseason. I understand why they play it, but
I know they need it, but
I don't even watch. I don't even watch it. It's so bad. I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
care.
It sucks the joy out of football.
It's just no one watches. The ratings are horrible too, so no one cares. But I'm excited. What are their Saturday night game? Who else plays Saturday? We got
this weekend. You got the 49ers Seahawks tonight. Yeah, Saturday you have 3 games. You have Colts Vikings, Ravens Browns, Dolphins Bills.
So Ravens are playing in Cleveland. Watson's starting for the Browns. I think Huntley's
starting for the Ravens.
I think Huntley's starting too. I know he was at practice, but I don't know if he's. I doubt he'll play. But I like in that game. I do think the Browns have a great chance against the Baltimore. Run defense is not that great. Chubb should have a huge game.
Yeah, and when you have Kareem Hunt and Huntley's big and he can move around.
Yeah, and Watson playing at home. I'm curious to see if the fans give him a big hello, or will they be standoff? I have no idea.
I don't know either. He is kind of a polarizing figure in football right now for good reason. So it will be interesting to see how he is received.
And then Sunday, what games do we have Sunday we should talk about?
I think the Falcons Saints, just because it's Desmond Ritter's first game, becomes relevant.
Yeah. But no one in the right mind in fantasy football starting Desmond Ritter as their starting.
No, you have to be pretty desperate. I think the Cowboys Jaguars is surprisingly one of the better games on Sunday's slate. I don't think there's not great games. You got Lions Jets.
The one game I'm excited about. I'm a Bengal fan, so I'm excited about this just because we got Burrow, who I feel is the next big quarterback coming.
And he's going against Tom Brady.
He's going against the GOAT, Tom Brady, and even Burrow said it's his idol growing up. I mean, he loves all these young quarterbacks love Tom Brady, and they should. So I'm curious to see what happens in Tampa with the Bengals. Again, I know Tampa's not been playing that great, but I don't think it matters that much because when you have Tom Brady, weird things happen. So what do you think is going to happen in that game? Do you think the Bengals win that game, or do you think they will lose the game? They're favored.
I'm worried it's a trap game for them. For the Bengals a little bit because they've been playing so bad. But I think they hold on. I don't think that, what is the spread, like 3.5 or something?
3.5. The Bengals are favored. The Dogs.
They might barely cover, but I think they're going to win by a field goal.
T. Higgins is playing. He practiced. T. Higgins is in, which I think is a big plus. Boyd is still questionable, and again Mixon's playing. He's fine. And I think the Bengals should win the game too. I think you're right. Field goal game.
All right. Reggie Cook asks, I have to start 2 in a full point PPR. J.K. Dobbins, ETN, or Christian Kirk. Pick 2.
So J.K. Dobbins this last week, I mean, he was running. I saw when he was caught from behind from that long run. So he doesn't have the speed like he used to have, but
he doesn't have it back yet.
Yeah, he hasn't back yet, but still he had over 100 yards at scrimmage and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So I would start J.K. Dobbins for sure against Cleveland, who does not have a great run defense, even though they have probably the best defensive player in the league, but still the run defense isn't that great. So Dobbins for sure. Then now we're down to Travis and Christian, and we talked about Christian Kirk. He's been horrible the past few weeks.
He's averaging 9.8 points
Yeah, we
over the last 4
we
weeks.
looked at it, yeah.
I
And
think
then
you
so
can.
Travis and JK. There you go.
Yeah, I think ETN's floor is around 10 points, so I would probably go ETN because he catches the ball. It's a PPR.
Yep.
He could have 3 receptions to ETN. I mean, to Christian Kirk 6, and still end up with the same amount of points. So,
but J.K. Dobbins, I think, will be a top 5 running back.
Yeah,
this week.
I agree with those picks. All right, here you go. Your boy might be the greatest softball player in the Southern California area, but in a 2QB in a super flex league, he's forced to use either Desmond Ridder, Baker Mayfield, or Sam Darnold with his second quarterback. I'm not surprised you have the first overall pick, Zach, in the league next year. No, you just have to pick one of them as your second quarterback. That's pretty rough going into the playoffs. Oh man. Is it wrong that I'm leaning Baker Mayfield?
I would start Ridder just because he went to the University of Cincinnati. That's right.
There you go. I think it's a dart throw, to be honest. I mean, Carolina,
you're not going to win.
Carolina has DJ Moore at least.
Wow! Oh my God! Oh wow! It's Sam Darnold
going against the Steelers. God, that's
I would
tough.
start Ridder. It's his first start. He's a rookie. They're playing New Orleans, who's not really a great team in the dome, and I think Ridder should do okay. We'll see what happens, but I would spin the wheel. Just do Ridder.
Yeah, I think it would be fun just to.
He was a cover guy anyway. Case, you got to take him.
I know. I think you put 3 of them on a dartboard, blindfold your wife, and have her throw a dart and see who she hits.
I don't like Baker in Green Bay at night. With the cold and with being on a new team, I think that's going to catch up to him, in Green Bay, who's probably one of the hardest places to play in the country.
Well, I think Carolina's at least in Carolina, so against the Steelers, but TJ Watt could have a big field day with Sam Darnold there too. So let's go Ridder. I agree. Let's see what the rookie can do.
The wheel, Zach Daly. And Zach Daly plays in our fantasy league on MFSN League too. He has a team there.
Maybe that's the team we're talking about.
No, because he's not in the playoffs. Who else?
JoJo Master 95, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Christian Watson, Chris Olave. Which one do I sit?
Oh, you have to sit one. Got it.
I would sit. I don't trust Deshaun Watson.
Wait, Deshaun Watson? You mean
right? Amari Cooper? No. So I don't trust. I'm looking at the quarterbacks for each of them.
I know,
right?
but
the red rifle.
Casey, do me a favor. Just do this right now. I'm telling you. Go look up Mike Evans the past 4 games.
Oh, I know it's been awful, but if we're calling this a trap game,
Casey, it's been horrible. I want to say I like Mike Evans. I have him in my teams. I've been benching him the past couple of weeks.
He's averaging just over 3 receptions and just over 44 yards, no touchdowns, and Cincinnati is not a good matchup. But wow. So either Evans or Cooper. I would play Watson on Olave, no doubt.
I would, Ross the Boss is sitting.
If you think Tom Brady's going to step up because he's playing the Bengals and want to show something, Mike Evans is his guy. I don't trust Deshaun Watson to get the ball to Amari Cooper either. Those would be. He says sit Evans. I say sit Cooper.
There you
go. Check back with us on Tuesday, and one of us will be probably both wrong. With our luck, Olave will have the bad game.
Baltimore doesn't have Ed Reed anymore. They don't have Marvin Lewis. They don't have Ray.
They don't have Ray Lewis.
They don't have Ray Lewis anymore.
Terrell Suggs isn't there anymore.
Suggs, who went to, I forgot what school he went to. Tell me what college he went to.
University of Arizona.
No, Arizona State. But again, I would bench Mike Evans just because he's not doing well.
Well, who's the top corner for, do they play man or zone mostly in Cincinnati?
They play man a lot.
Who's their top corner?
Well, our top corner, I know Bates double teams a lot in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of their top corner.
So do you think, I guess my question is, will he be on Evans or Godwin?
Evans is the number 1 receiver. But again, it's been hard to watch Tampa Bay football. They've not been scoring the ball, not been scoring a lot. I mean, if you had to tell me who to bench, I would bench Evans. That's me.
Okay. There you go.
Amari Cooper's having a great year. Watson has been.
What's he done the last 4 weeks?
Go look it up. Christian Watson, I told you, has been money the past few games. He didn't play last week because it's a bye week. And Chris Olave has been like catching touchdowns. I mean, this guy looks great.
All right, Cooper's been doing better, so I agree with Ross. Bench Mike Evans.
Yeah, there you go. God, can you imagine if Dallas had Cooper this year and they did get rid of him? I mean, it would have made their team so much better.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Gallup hasn't lived up to what they thought he would. Noah Brown, though,
you don't like Noah Brown, but
don't sell Noah Brown short.
I got you a Noah Brown jersey for Christmas.
Jojo, thank you. Thanks for asking us a question. We hope it works out well for you. Hopefully, you can come back again and tell us how you dominated your first round of the playoffs and everybody's scared to play you. But so any other questions? Feel free. Ask us anything. It can be about this week, next week. Heck, if you want to ask World Cup questions, the finals here on Sunday, I'll be happily sitting down to watch that because it'll end before the first NFL game, fortunately for me.
What time is the World Cup game on Sunday? 10
a.m. Eastern, so 7 a.m. Pacific. Okay. It is Argentina in Leo Messi's last chance to win a World Cup against what seems like an unstoppable force in France with Kylian Mbappe and some of the rest.
2 World Cups in a row for France.
If they win this one, it will be, yeah.
What's your prediction in the game?
I'm going to say 2-1 Argentina, but that's a sentimental pick. That's a sentimental pick because I'm a Messi guy. So it seems you're either a Messi or a Ronaldo guy. I've always been a Messi guy. So
I always like Messi better than I've never been a Ronaldo guy. I always felt he was a prima donna and he was just a pretty boy. You know, doesn't have any tattoos. You know, I don't like it. Forget about Ronaldo. You know.
But you know, we got NBA going on. By the way, if you have questions about NBA fantasy, I'm looking at one of the best experts I've ever come across when it comes to the NBA, and that's Ross there too. So feel free to ask that question because we're in full swing there too already.
Yeah. So
are you already winning that league? I don't know. I know I'm in like
I'm
ninth
in fifth place, but I again the thing about my team is I have some injuries.
Get into the playoffs and then dominate.
As long as I finish in the top 6 to make the playoffs, I'm fine. Because when I'm in the playoffs, that's when I'll start. That's when my team
haven't you won it the last 2 years?
Yeah, I've been doing pretty well. But football wise, again, it's the playoffs. If you guys have questions, who to start, who not to start, who to bench, who to pick up, we're here for you. This is the most exciting time of the year in fantasy football. This is the time when, all those bad teams are gone. Everything, now it's serious. Now it's playoffs. I hope you guys made the playoffs. And if you did, Kasey, why don't you congratulate the fans that made the playoffs?
I'm not doing it at all. You haven't accomplished anything yet. Anybody can make the playoffs. Now when you measure your manhood. Come on, or womanhood. We certainly know female fantasy players who can dominate too. So I didn't mean to make a very
who do you think? Let's talk fantasy football. Who do you predict is the top point getter this week in fantasy football? Who will get the most points? You didn't have Ingram this week, so I know that. And
no, I did not.
And you didn't have Trevor Lawrence either. Is there 1-2 punch? I know that as a fact. So who do you think? Give me a prediction real quick, then we'll go. Tell me who you think is going to have like
the most points?
The most points of any fantasy player.
Austin
in a regular
Eckler.
Scoring situation, not like
Austin Eckler going against the Titans.
Austin Eckler again. See, I like the other side. I like Henry. I think
you like Henry against but I like Eckler because he catches passes. I like
Henry because the Chargers defense is bad. And they're going to rely on him to run the ball, and the game's indoors. It's in LA, and I just feel Henry's going to be motivated to do well in Los Angeles. So I like Henry. Quarterback-wise, I'm going to say it because this guy doesn't lay off when the score's big. He'll put him in, and he'll score more touchdowns. He doesn't care. Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he plays Houston. Houston's defense is horrible, Kasey. Horrible. So, again, if you play like those daily fantasy games, Patrick Mahomes, for me, he's my number one pick for the week.
I could see a combined 60 points out of quarterbacks in the Eagles-Bears game. I think Fields and Hurts are going to both try to one-up each other throughout the game, both through the air and with their legs. I could see either of them putting up huge
That's
points.
A good one. I like Hurts. Hurts is a great play, and in Fields too. I think Fields will 100% right. I think both those guys will try to combat each other. You're great pick. Great pick also. And then what receivers do you like this week? Who do you think's going to?
I think Jamar Chase is going to put up gigantic numbers against the Bucs.
And I mean,
I just see that happening. I see Devontae Adams doing it against the Patriots. I don't think, they talk about like that Bill Belichick can game plan away your best player.
Yep.
I don't think you can game plan away Devontae Adams.
No, I don't know how you guard him. I mean, the guy's
I just think he's that good. So those would be my two wide
receivers.
receivers.
I'm not looking at Justin Jefferson. What's your thoughts on him this week?
Home game against the Colts in Minnesota. So it's going to be cold. I think it's going to be a Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor game. So
I agree with.
Don't get me wrong. Justin Jefferson's bad week is still going to be like 60 yards and a touchdown or 70 yards and a touchdown because he's that good. But I don't see him being a top 5 or 6 fantasy wide receiver this week.
Let's talk tight end position. Okay. Do you just want to name the obvious, or is there somebody?
Travis Kelce, I think, is going to be the best. Yeah, I think that's
a safe Kelce play. Okay, I'm going to take. I think Hill for New Orleans could have a good game. I'm just saying it. I'm just telling you right now.
Yeah.
Hill for New Orleans. If you could pick him up, I would probably spin the wheel in playoffs and see.
And I liked somebody you named earlier today. Hunter Henry going against the Raiders. I think he could be.
I'm starting him in one of my lists. We have a question from George Cook. Kasey, why don't you read it?
Do you play Higgins on Sunday?
Yes. Unless
he's off the report and gets a full practice, and I don't think I can. Zach Taylor should be in jail for last week.
I know what he's. They took both Boyd and Higgins off. They took him off. And I know everybody went crazy because Higgins wasn't really that hurt. He could have.
And people were playing to get into the playoffs last week. And if you were starting one of them, you could have been screwed.
Look at Kyrie Murray. Can you imagine if you needed a
Kyler Murray,
quarterback and Murray's your guy and he goes down in the third play? I mean, I would be crying. I don't have him in any of my leagues on purpose.
Well, here's the thing, George. I agree with you that it's risky given what Zach Taylor did last week and benched them both. But it all comes down to who you're benching in Higgins, who you would play in his place. I mean, if you have another top number 2 receiver on a team, if you have I don't even know who you would put in his place. I mean, if you have one of the Detroit wide receivers, Brown, Chark, or St. Brown, Chark, maybe one of those. Metcalf, I might bench him for.
Lockett, Metcalf, maybe I would. You're right.
But outside of that,
Mike Williams, I would start Mike Williams over him. But I mean, there's not.
I'm not going to bench him for Christian Watson. I'm not going to bench him for scary Terry McLaurin. I don't think I am.
And the thing about Zach Taylor is this: Mixon 2 weeks ago, he passed the protocol for a concussion. Zach Taylor decided still not to play him. I mean, he didn't even. He passed, and Zach didn't pass him. So there you go.
George has a follow-up, and we'll get to it in a second. But first, Zach, your buddy Zach asks, Justin Fields or Justin Herbert? Which
Justin Herbert has all his weapons, Zach. All his weapons are back. He's a different quarterback.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like Zach Daly going out for passes anymore. Now he has like Mike Williams. He has Keenan Allen.
And Tennessee is notoriously the worst pass defense, I think, in the league.
I mean, you smell toast when they play. Everybody's getting burned.
I love Fields. And I think he's going to be a fantasy goldmine for years to come. But they don't have Darnell Mooney for the rest of the year. So they're stuck with who's the guy they took from Chase Claypool, and then Cole Kmet are his only real pass catchers. And it's the Eagles who can stifle you. So I would probably go Herbert. All right. I'm going to let you take this one, the follow-up from George Cook, because I know it's something you have a lot of passion about.
Mike Evans or Slayton. You're a Slayton expert. I don't like Mike Evans. But
look what he says.
I actually like Evans against
Eli
Apple. I agree. Eli Apple gets burned all the time.
Eli Apple, former Giant, by the way, who got burned as a Giant.
He's a former Saint. He's a former Giant. He gets burned all the time. I mean, I love his name. I love Eli Apple. It's a great name. I mean, being an athlete, having the name Eli Apple, it's not as good as Colt McCoy, but it's still a cool name. Listen, if Higgins, we'll find out on Friday. They have practice Friday. That's the last practice till the game. You'll find out Friday if Higgins is practicing in full gear. If he is full participant on Friday, then I would start Higgins. If he's not, if he's just doing a half-assed thing on the sidelines, I would not start him. And maybe I would start Mike Evans against Eli Apple, because I agree with you 100%, George Cook, that Eli Apple gets burned too much.
So there you go, guys. All right. Well, Ross, guess what? Tonight, Week 15 starts, baby. First game
I'm excited
starts in about
I'm
3 hours.
I'm actually excited for tonight's game. I think Al Michaels is going to have not a heart attack, but he'll be very frustrated because both defenses will be playing really well, and he wants a good game. I don't know if it's me. We'll see. But I see a close game, 17-14 final, 2017 final. Kasey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be close to. I am obviously leaning towards the 49ers because of that defense. But all you need is DK Metcalf to get open twice, and that could all change.
All you need is love.
One last question for the Beetle. Matthew, he has Bam Knight, Zonovan Knight, Michael Pittman, Devontae Smith, and Brian Robinson. He can start 2. Which 2 do you start?
So I'm a Knight Rider. I'm just telling you guys right now.
Yeah, we're both Knight Riders.
I love Knight. So
I actually really like Pittman going against the Vikings, because that Vikings defense has been pretty Swiss cheesy. It's been you've been able to score a lot against them. So Devonta Smith had a good game last week because he caught that one long touchdown pass. I don't know what the game script's going to look like against the Bears. Brian Robinson has been really inconsistent. I don't know what his last few.
I was looking at Brian Robinson this week. Look at all the handoffs he got last week, Kasey. Look at the usage he's having and the volume he's getting in Washington, and he's playing against the Giants, whose defense
I know. Last week he had a bye, so we're looking at
the week 13. Before. Excuse me.
Week 13, he had 21 carries for 96 yards, no touchdowns.
Right. So 21 carries.
The week before that, he had 18 for 105. Yeah. So hey. Never.
What do you think?
I stand corrected. Maybe I'll go Robinson and Knight.
See what I did, folks? I told Kasey.
Hey,
I did it.
I find myself to be truly open-minded. So if you can point the stats to me, he's been playing well. They're coming off a bye. The Giants just gave up 120 plus yards to Miles Sanders last week. You know, they're not exactly playing well right now. I have a feeling if he gets 20 carries, he'll find the end zone again. But I do like Pittman also. I'm just going to put that out there.
So you like Pittman, but
Devonta Smith.
Knight. We like Knight, like Robinson. And I
Knight, like Robinson, Pittman.
I do like the Heisman Trophy. Devontae Smith is either money or he's horrible. So just because it's playoffs, I'm going with the safe play of Knight.
Right. And you Robinson. Go with the highest floor.
Yeah. Knight and Robinson is because it's playoff time and you can't take chances right now.
But I could see Pittman getting 7 catches. It's a question of whether he gets into the end zone.
Remind me, who's Pittman's quarterback, and tell me how good he's doing this year.
Matt Ryan is Pittman's quarterback.
Oh, he is? I totally
forgot. As long as Pittman runs routes inside of 10 yards, Matt Ryan can throw it that far. I don't know. You're being very judgmental.
Dr. Daniel can throw 10 yards. Yeah, so what?
Not today. He's not feeling so hot.
Yeah, I love to check up on him and see if he's really sick. Trust me. I'll have to go over there and just knock on the door and say, "Hey, are you sick?" He's like, "What?" But I think the safest bet, Matthew, just because it's playoff time, is Bam Knight. He's been getting a lot of volume in the
and Detroit has given up 200-yard rushing games to Seattle and so they've been known to be a little loose on the defensive line with the run game. And I agree. If Robinson's going to be, you want the lead backs, especially if it's not a PPR. But Robinson's been getting 3 catches a week too. So
there you go. Okay,
Knight and Robinson. I like Pittman better than Smith. All right. Well, guys, another great show. Thank you very much. We appreciate all the questions. We hope that our answers prove successful for you in the playoffs and that we get to talk to you again next week about who you have to play after you won this week. So tune in again. We'll be back on Tuesday, Ross and I, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, right? That's right. We're going to give you some waiver wire names and review the week that happened and talk about the week ahead. So good luck this weekend. If you're on my side of the country and the northern part of the country, I hope you stay safe and warm. If you're in Ross's part of the country, I'm just jealous.
Kasey, 35 degrees last night. 35 degrees in Los Angeles.
Okay. Well, I still am a little jealous. So Have a good weekend, everybody, and we will talk to you next week.